In 2011, the Natural Resource Defense Council's Smarter Cities team named Jersey City one of the 15 metropolitan leadership regions for its, quote, impressive and effective transportation programs. However, those of us who live here in the Heights know that mass transit is not smart, impressive, or effective in our neighborhood. The 119 bus does not have late night or weekend service. The 123 has limited schedule during the critical rush hour period, and it also takes a longer route than the former 99S. The jitneys are convenient, but have rampant abuses of traffic and safety laws, as well as local regulations. Now the question part. As mayor, please explain how you're going to work to improve local mass transit options from the Heights to other parts of Hudson County and New York City.
Let me start by saying that I see a Heights resident up there, John Lynch, who is a lifelong Heights resident. His family are Heights residents. He loves the Heights. He works in New York City. Every day he's commuting, and everybody on the city council and in the administration once per week gets an email from John Lynch talking about taxi transportation, mass transportation, complaining about inefficiencies. And I think John would agree with me, who's sitting out there, that over the course of years of complaining, zero has been done on this issue. And it kind of speaks volumes, because mass transportation is literally the backbone to making a city efficient. Now, we're blessed in Jersey City that we have a lot of natural attributes that is not a function of anybody up here. It's stuff time over year that we've built upon, from the light rail to the path system to the bus system. If you think about kind of where we are, ranging from the 100 steps finally getting done this year, it's an election year, to bus routes being cut repeatedly over years, to the taxis not being done, to a simple thing like the Pulaski Skyway, which it started with an advocacy from my office, 1,500 signatures, in order to ask for a hearing, and then the mayor and Assemblyman Ramos joined in. There is a clear lack of advocacy as it relates to mass transportation. Number one, what we will do is we will continue advocacy at the state level for things like the path increase service, that when you route on the weekends via Hoboken, where there's limited service overnight, Jersey City should get its fair share, and those things should be corrected, number one. Number two is, when we talk about the New Jersey Transit recommendations to Jersey City as it relates to how to deal with our bus services, there's very limited amount from that recommendation that has been implemented. We will do that. And then, look, we will put together a bus task force, as was in that plan, in order to ensure the quality of service is heightened and not limited. So I think those are three things that we can do and be strong on to improve transportation in the Heights.
Thank you.
By the way, the bus lines, you Coach USA and all of them, this is a matter of economics. The big buses are not making enough money. Every time a line was cut, we met with our citizens. Every service was cut. We met with the Transportation Committee down in Trenton, Senator Sacco, we brought him in here, and we managed to do something to plug those holes. We're speaking right now with the New Jersey Transit, and they're going to be increasing service on the 119 bus line. We've also got the 87 line redirected a little bit so that it brings passengers now. It used to stop at Franklin, go down Ferry Street and go back to Hoboken. It now comes out Franklin Avenue, makes a left going south on Central Avenue and delivers people to Journal Square. We're constantly fighting. But this is a matter of economics. The big buses are not generating enough riders and enough fares to make money, and they're constantly trying to pull out. We're constantly fighting with them and finding other ways to keep our bus transportation, which so many of our citizens rely on, alive. Gypsy buses, guess what? That's the way we're gonna have to rely on those buses more and more. What we have to do, and our police are doing it as we speak, make sure that those gypsy buses, the little ones, who ride up and down, particularly from Journal Square up to the Heights here in Jersey City. Some of them go all the way to New York, that they are abiding by all of the traffic requirements. You have commercially licensed drivers, you have registered buses, and you have insurance. So the bus problems are an economic problem, and we're probably going to have to transition from the big buses to get more of the little buses and make sure they're complying with all safety and traffic regulations. But that's where we're going with bus transportation. And the 100 steps, absolutely, that's very important. We're proud that that's going to be open in the near future. Yes, it is. And we're restoring something that existed for a long time. They were so decrepit that they had to be pulled down in the 90s. But we're at the threshold of getting that done. It's going to allow people from the Heights, not just up by Congress Street, to use the elevator down to the light rail. They can walk down to the light rail stop in Hoboken very soon.
Thank you.
Before I go further to answer the question, I would first like to say that something very important. We have Mayor sitting next to me. He says that he has been working on this for 10 years. I wonder that, if he couldn't accomplish one thing in 10 years, do we expect him to do the same thing? Accomplish anything in the next 4 or 5 more years? I don't think so. And next thing I would like to say that the transportation is a very serious problem. I know I have been here around, walking around, and I had to wait a couple of, sometime an hour or more to get, a bus. But again, no doubt, this is an economical problem also. But one should keep in mind that the residents, they deserve the best services that we can provide them. And as a mayor, I promise you, I make a commitment that I will work with the Port Authority, I will work with the New Jersey Transit, and I will work with the local, transporters. Number one, the Port Authority also has an obligation to provide better or more services in the past. How they do this? They have to sit down and they have to come up with a plan. And other thing is that as far as the New Jersey Transit is concerned, they complain that they lose some money because they don't get enough riders. But we can do this thing by subsidizing them or giving them some help or getting help from the state, so that at least the services for the people should be available when they need. And lastly and third thing is that as far as the gypsy transportation is concerned, that's good, that's right, that they provide some sort of help for the residents. But again, the violations are very serious and very severe. Sometimes they break down in the way, sometimes they are overcrowding, sometimes they are incompetent drivers, they don't follow the rules and regulations of the traffic. And as a mayor, I would like to implement very strict and tough rules for their inspection as well as their activity, so that only those buses that they fulfill or they come, pass the standard, they should be on the road and there should not be any safety hazard for any resident. So it's on one side is economical, but I believe that the city and the mayor also has an obligation to get help from where it is needed to help the residents to get the better services they can. And it's not fair that we, that we pay service payment to some what is called as lobbying companies, and we get favorable statistics and reports from them, which is quite
Thank you, Dr.
First of all, before I get into that, one of the things that I do know about transportation in the Heights, going into a couple of the meetings up in the Heights, is a safety issue as well. So with my administration, we will take a look at a plan in terms of safety. A lot of kids get hit up in the Heights. Statistics is the most accidents actually in the city. So one of the things we want to look at is that, and the thing that we want to do is work together. And I agree with the mayor, it is an economic thing in terms of the bigger buses. One of the things that we want to do is work with New Jersey Transit and the Port Authority to come up with a solution to this problem. But we definitely also, we absolutely need transportation. That's what's going to make our cities effective, and also saving on energy and all that type of stuff. So one of the things that we want to do is work with the administration and down in the state, at the State House, to understand how can we subsidize some of the courses. And within my last couple of years, there's been a lot of lines that's been just dropped, and it's not just in the Heights, it's all over the city. It's all over the city, it's not just the Heights, it's everywhere. So we gotta really take a strong look at this. We have to work together with this. We have to work with the state and the Port Authority to come up with a feasible plan to implement it. And we need to just work together on that one, because it's really a safety issue as well. There's a lot of kids, like I said, is getting hit in the streets, and transportation is something that could really turn the city around, and that could really create a lot of jobs as well. And also with the Jiffy buses, the smaller buses, we have to make sure we're enforcing the rules as well, that they stop on the bus stops, because a lot of times me riding around in the Heights, that they just stop anywhere. So we got to make sure that they follow the rules as well, and try to put together committees and represent the bus companies, because they need a representative, because there's a lot of different lines that actually come through our neighborhoods. So safety comes first with that, and working with the state and the Port Authority to make sure we have a feasible plan to implement in Jersey City.
The city dedicates nearly 1/5 of the municipal budget, approximately $100 million, towards the police department. Yet many residents here in the Heights don't feel safe walking the streets at night. What would be your plan to improve public safety, specifically here in the Heights?
I think we have a wonderful police department. I just think that with the police department, there should be some adjustments to it. And one of the things that I'm planning to do is implement real community policing. And I know, growing up in the Bergen Lafayette community, one of the things that stuck out in my mind was community policing. We had sub-police stations on every corner, and we had relationships with the cops. The community wasn't on one side and the cops was on the other side. We had relationships there. And one of the officers at the time in my community was the late great Mayor Glenn Cunningham. He was the officer right up the street from my house on Pacific Avenue. And not only did Glenn have the ability to solve crimes, but he prevented a lot of them as well. And that's one of the things that my administration gonna do. We want to prevent things. We tired of looking in the paper, picking up the paper and reading that another kid got killed in the streets. And I often go to these funerals. I know these kids. I have personal relationship with their families. I often help pay for the funerals. So this has to stop. And I think we do have a great police department. I think we just have to make some minor adjustments and get back to real community policing. I'm going to implement a 12-step program that's going to really work, and that's going to turn our communities around, and we're going to have access to the cops. The cops can't be on one side, and the community can't be on the other. So in the Heights, we need to have some substations, and we need to know the cops. I used to know the cop. I'm a community activist, and the cops ride right by me. I really don't know them too much anymore. And that's one of the things that I'm looking to do, is implement a real community policing, and it works. It works, because I witnessed it growing up in the streets of Jersey City. So it works, and it works in the Bergen community, Lafayette community, as well as going to work in the Heights. And that's one of the things that I'm looking to do with the police department. And we want to have a better relationship with the police department as a community. I remember having, police basketball tournaments up in the Heights, up in Persian Field. We have to get back to that. The police have to have a better relationship with the community, because if you have a better relationship, you won't classify, you won't do different things like that. You'll understand who that kid is. You'll know what families he's from. You would know. I mean, you have to have a sense of community, and that's what I want to implement. And if you don't do that, it's not gonna never work. If the cops don't have relationships, it's not gonna never work. And with the kids, the young kids today, is this whole thing that evolved. It's called snitching. At one point, I used to go, when I was a kid, I would sit there and talk to the cops. The cops was my role models. So,
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Okay, just let me start with the good doctor. Doc, if you can guarantee me that you'll get more state aid and more money from the Port Authority, I'll vote for you for mayor on May 14th. Because I've been fighting with the Port Authority, with the state to get aid. The state just cut us 3 years ago with the new regime, $70 million to one city in 1 year. That was us, Jersey City. So we're always fighting for that. Regarding crime, we don't keep the statistics. Jersey City Police don't keep the statistics. They're kept by the state police and the FBI. Crime continues to trend down in our city. In fact, last year, we had the lowest number of homicides as far back as records go, which is 1969, year 2012. So our police department and leadership is doing an excellent job. What we need... What we need are more. That entails money. Then we can't keep hitting the taxpayers over the head. What we did in the last couple of months, we hired 22 new police officers who are going to be dedicated to police presence, walking. Because the more police you have out there, not only do the citizens feel more secure and safe and free to walk about and do their business, but also the bad guys see that presence and they're not going to commit criminal acts around the police. But we got 22 new cops out there dedicated to police presence, walking. And you know what? We got about $1.85 million in a federal grant, the COPS grant, which we lobbied hard for our congressional representatives and our 2 U.S. senators. And while we were going around the last year to various community meetings, we prepared letters to be sent to our federal representations. We gave them out to the citizens signed them, and we mailed them to those representatives. And I'm telling you, I think that had a big effect, all the letters they got, because that's how we got that $1.85 million grant. Previously, we were punished for our success because our numbers were good and the numbers kept trending down, the crime numbers. We were told, well, you didn't lay off any cops, you didn't lay off any firemen, crime's going down, you're not getting the money. They gave it to other cities who didn't manage their assets as well.
Thank you.
Okay, in this regard, I have to say a couple of things. They are very important, although each and every question has a significance, but this is a very serious in this aspect that it is very sensitive also. The statistics, I mean, say whatever the mayor says, that we are having crimes are down in Jersey City over the years. But my question is that, I mean, say crimes are down, but are we really safe? The answer is no, we are not safe. So I don't know, I mean, say what is meant by crimes are down, number one. Number two, I would like to say, we put a reasonable amount of our annual budget to the police. And there are a couple of problems over here too with the police department. I know and I appreciate that our policemen, they are working very hard. Sometimes they put their life on line and on risk to protect and save our citizens and us, we all. But there are certain issues which should be addressed. For example, police department is understaffed. We should keep in mind that city has lost, I mean, say we have lost around 300 police officers because they retired, and city has done almost nothing to replace those loss or get the other replace the new with the new officers. Number one. Number two, I mean, say among this budget that we allocate to the police department, there have been tremendous and unnecessary and unethical raises to some of those officers which have links to the city hall. And I wonder that if somebody can explain to me that what I can expect and how I can expect a police officer to work efficiently, effectively, and impartially, and in a strict rule of regulation when he knows that he gives a donation to the politicians, and as long as the mayor and his supporter is there, he needs not to worry. I know the police officers who are sitting in their offices and issuing tickets to the residents. So I mean, so we have this type of issues too. We have some people, I mean, so some staff on the police who are not working as they are supposed to be. So we have the issues of number one, understaffing police department and not very efficient police department. And at the same time, I would like to say that we need to provide and we need to enforce the strict discipline policy on the police, and we should encourage the meetings with the communities and advise them to come up with the complaints, and one complaint, two complaints, and third complaint, the officer is dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you. Statistics and numbers and I've been through this enough with the administration to know kind of what they point to and assume that they point to 12 violent crimes. And selective statistics could definitely be selective. And 12 murders last year is a good number. and we have 5 so far this year. And my point on that is that if you're going to take credit when the sun shines, you should take blame when it rains. And you're trending today for a 25 murder rate for the year. Now that wouldn't be fair to saddle the mayor with that, the same way it wouldn't be fair to give him necessarily credit for 12. So that's not the point. What I do know is that when people walk the streets, they don't feel safe. I think back about a month and a half ago, I visited Reverend McRae, Mount Pisgah Church, at 7 p.m. He runs an after-school program for children. And at 7 p.m., he was loading 12 kids into a van outside the church, and a bullet flew through the window. It was in the Jersey Journal. And I tell you that the 12 kids, or their parents, or their friends, or their grandparents, would tell you that crime isn't down. And I would tell you that when there's shootings by the Laguna Lounge, or there's muggings by Ferry Street, they don't feel safe either, and they wouldn't tell you the crime is down. Now look, when I think about statistics, I could tell you a couple of things, okay? There have been 2,000 violent crimes last year in Jersey City. That's a fact. And when you think about the number of police officers in Jersey City, we are near an all-time low as far as manpower. That's a fact. When you think of 2 of the 4 police precincts, they are among the busiest in the state of New Jersey. That's a fact. Think about comparison to Patterson, Camden, Newark. We have some of the busiest in the state of New Jersey in manpower. Now, we put forward a comprehensive police plan that restructuring the police department in a way that won't cost you money, that you will have more police visibility on the street. It does a couple things, number one, that are really logical. Number one is decentralizing command so that your precinct commanders could be held more accountable. So you could actually give them the resources they need within each precinct, and then you could hold them accountable for results. Number 2, there has been a return to police officers on desk jobs. That should not happen. If there is a sworn officer, he should be out on the street wherever possible. Number 3, there needs to be an investment in after-school and recreation programs, and we put forward a plan in order to do that. That, look, if you're going to keep children safe, you need to invest in places for them to go other than the street. And then 4th and finally, we have made a commitment that our police leadership, appointed by the mayor and the council, will live in Jersey City, not in Monmouth County.